Good morning, friends, and welcome to the pre-market view. US markets were up about 1.4%, mainly because of two factors. One is that the housing data that came out were positive, and there are definitely expectations or hope on the resolution of this fiscal cliff as indicated by some of the politicians. So that is leading to some kind of a revival in the US markets, which were so bad for the past almost about 10 days on concerns of fiscal cliff. European markets were up about 2 to 2.5%, but post the European markets were closed, Moody's downgraded the sovereign bond rating outlook on France from AAA to AA plus, and with a negative outlook. So that is something that the market would not take it too positively, and which is reflected in the way some of these Asian markets have opened up softer, though we had a very strong session for both US and European markets. And Hang Seng is up about 0.9%, and the Japanese markets are flat. But remember, Japanese equity markets have been doing extremely well for the past few sessions, and they have actually moved up by about 5 to 6% on expectations of liquidity easing, and there is also going to be a meeting on the rate cut today, because of which we have seen that the yen has actually depreciated against dollar. So some of the companies which are going to be benefited because of the weak yen are Maruti and Hero Honda, and we are seeing a lot of strength in some of those stocks which are dependent upon the yen movement. In terms of our own markets, friends, we also had a muted session. Market is not actually able to move up beyond 5600, and though some of the markets are positive, SGX Nifty is suggesting that we are going to have almost about 10-11 points kind of an uptick. So this is something that the market would be watching out for, whether we are able to cross 5620, 5630 and stabilize above that for a bigger move on the way up, given the uncertainty on account of the parliament session and few contentious issues which are going to be discussed there. Also, the crude has, friends, shot up to almost 111 because of the kind of tensions which is taking place in the Middle East between Israel and Gaza. So that is leading to some kind of a spike up in the crude oil price. On that note, let me invite Shaival to take us through important F&O cues and ideas and strategies that we could look at in the F&O markets.
Good morning, friends. Let's have a check at derivatives now. Friends, this is for the fourth day in a row that we have seen that on the open interest trend in Nifty future, we have seen a reduction. But in yesterday's trade, we have seen that Nifty during the last hour of trade has shown a smart recovery due to short covering. Now the PCR ratio continues to further slide towards 0.96 from 0.98, which is a bit worrying sign for the market, and as the implied volatility has also been increasing, it's been clearly indicating that the bias for the market is negative. Now we have been seeing that the activity on the options front from the strikes perspective has been squeezing. 5,600 call option and 5,700 call option has seen a good activity in terms of open interest, whereas on the lower side 5,400 and 5,300 put option has seen a good activity. So that's been indicating that market is awaiting for the events such as the winter session in the parliament. So due to which we have seen that the squeezing has been taking place. As we have said that the bias for the market is negative, we may see some bounces in the market, but the overall bias still remains negative, and 5625, which is also the weekly VWAP, would act as a hurdle for the market. From intraday perspective, we have identified three stocks. Bata India is looking positive, so one can maintain a stop loss of 861 rupees 80 paisa. Maruti is also looking positive, so one can maintain a stop loss of 1476.25. Whereas Dabur is looking negative, so one can maintain a stop loss of 127 rupees 40 paisa from intraday perspective. Thank you.
Friends, here are the important news and ideas that we are tracking. First of all, on the telecom, we've seen that the response to this recently held 2G auction was not good, and in fact only about 18 out of 22 circles got the response, and the government could mobilize only about 9,400 crore as against the expectations of close to about 35 to 40,000 crore. A lot of people in the market believe that now that this 2G auction is over and the response has not been good, most of the regulatory risks are behind, and in the new 900 megahertz auction which is going to take place in 2013-14, the price could be lower, which could be positive for the existing operators like Bharti and Idea in particular. Also, there are talks that you might see revision in the prices over the next few months. We've already seen a hike in the prices of SMSs. So that could lead to some kind of a re-rating of the sector, and we have seen a lot of people turning positive. So from that perspective, we think that Bharti and Idea could provide a short-term upside opportunity. One can participate in those stocks. Other important event to watch out for is that the IMG is likely to meet tomorrow to decide the fate of about 14 mines allocated to the public sector units, and this is something that will be very crucial for those PSUs where the deallocation could have some negative implications on the stock prices. Reliance Capital has indicated that they are in talks with the foreign company who said about 26% stake in the general insurance company. So one can go long on Reliance Capital with a stop loss of 368 and a target of about 387 to 394. Unitech is likely to raise about 700 crore through its Worli property, which will be used to pay off its debt. And we have seen that some of these realty companies have shown a lot of strength, and Unitech is something that could provide a short-term upside. So one can go long with a stop loss of 2660 and a target of about 28 to 28.5, and one could also look at buying at the money call option for Unitech. Macleod Russell, we have seen that most of the tea stocks have done extremely well over the past few days, mainly because of the kind of response that they are getting from the Kochi auction, where almost 94% of the quantity was actually sold through at a good price. And on the back of that, one can go long on Macleod Russell with a stop loss of 317 and a target of about 333 to 340. And Hero MotoCorp has launched a new 110cc bike, Passion X, which will be priced at about 46,800. And we've seen that because of the yen depreciation, also some of these companies tend to benefit. So one can go long on Hero MotoCorp with a stop loss of 1806 and a target of about 1898 to about 1933. Monet Ispat is likely to acquire a coal mine in Colombia, which will be basically for their domestic operations. So one can go long on Monet Ispat with a stop loss of 285 and a target of about 300 to 305. Dr. Reddy's is likely to launch sildenafil tablets in the US markets, which is a good, huge market as such, and one can go long there with a stop loss of 1703 and a target of about 1790 to 1823. And Godrej Consumer has actually become too aggressive in their hair care product, where they are going to launch the product at about 20 to 30 rupees lower than the current rate at which most of the other products are available. So this could put some pressure on the margin. So one can go short on Godrej Consumer with a stop loss of 691 and a target of about 657 to 643. And for Balrampur Chini and most of the sugar stocks, there are negative reports, and farmers organization has asked for a steep hike of about 60% on the sugarcane prices for the season. So if these recommendations are accepted, then there could be some negative implications for the sugar stock. So one can go short on Balrampur Chini with a stop loss of 63 and a target of about 59.5 to 58.35. In another news, friends, Colgate has denied the possibility of any hike in the royalty to the parent company, and yesterday there was a buzz in the market that the royalty could be hiked from 5% current to about 8%, and on the back of that we had seen some negative reaction in the Colgate stock, but the company has officially denied any such move. So Colgate could actually give some positive tick on the back of that development. On that note, we end the session here. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice trading session.